Hello everybody, I'm Kevin, and I'm a beginning lichen enthusiast. I think they're pretty cool, but I don't know a whole lot about them. So I thought I'd bring you along with me and we'd learn together. Oh wow, so the first thing we're coming up on is this dozer that's just been parked here by the side of the road. I think I can already see some lichens over here. Check that out. Now over here, we've got some moss, and over here we got lichens. They feel pretty different. These feel drier, and this feels a little bit more spongy, maybe a little bit more moist. Guess that makes me wonder, what is a lichen to start with? A lichen is a partnership, a symbiosis between a fungus and either an algae or a cyanobacteria. They can't live separately and be successful, only together as this lichen. It's a very successful adaptive strategy for them. This almost looks like the surface of an alien planet to me. Fungus creates the structure for the lichen to grow and capture water and other minerals that the organism needs. And the algae, or the cyanobacteria, produces the energy, because both of those organisms on their own are photosynthetic. So they create their own food with sunlight. You could say that me and this dozer could be a partnership, that the dozer provides the structure and I provide it the fuel. I'm not generating the fuel myself, however. Lichens are considered a pioneer species, meaning they're the first, or one of the first species to colonize an area that has no other life on it. So for example, this rusty dozer blade, or if you can imagine where there's been a huge burn and there's exposed soil, or an exposed rock, all of those places are favorite habitats for lichens. Lichens love to grow on rocks. Let's run over there and take a look. This lichen right here looks like me in the morning. I guess if you leave something in the same place for long enough, a lichen will probably start growing on it. In some parts of the world, there isn't very much to eat other than lichens, and so there are some species that really rely on them, like reindeer. Reindeer eat something called reindeer moss, which is actually a lichen. There are mountain goats that eat lichens, and actually even here in Appalachia there is a lichen that's called rock tripe that used to be eaten. There's also mushrooms that parasitize lichens. So basically, they feed on the lichen. Oh hey, you caught me measuring that lichen there. You know what's fascinating is that lichenologists are able to tell the age or approximate age of a lichen based on its size or its weight, because lichens have a pretty regular growth rate. So knowing the species of that lichen, they can divide the size or the weight by its typical growth rate in a year to estimate its age. And some lichens are really, really old. They're some of the oldest organisms on Earth. It's almost like we do with carbon dating or counting tree rings to determine the age of a living thing, like a tree. Studies have shown that there is a higher diversity of lichens in areas where there is better air quality, with more lichens that are pollution sensitive present. Researchers have been able to determine that there's high pollution in the atmosphere based on the concentration of that pollutant in the lichens. For example, after an environmental disaster, or even after a policy change, like when they started phasing lead out of gasoline, there was much less lead accumulating in lichens. Scientists estimate that there could be 20,000 or more lichen species in the world, and they're still discovering new ones. And so it's helpful for them to classify them by their growth form. So for example, up here, there's one that looks like it's almost painted on the branch. That's called a CRUSTOSE lichen. Then down here, this one that almost looks like plant leaves, that's a FOLIOSE lichen. And then up here we have one that's got these little spiky and cup-shaped fruiting bodies. That's called a FRUTICOSE lichen. There's other growth forms too, but those are the three main ones you'll probably find around you. Now that you know a little bit more about lichens, it's time for you to get familiar with the lichens that are around you. Thanks for exploring lichens with me today. I'll see you next time.